You did not stumble into this moment. You selected it. There are no accidents in a responsive universe. There are only alignments that become visible. The fact that these words are in front of you right now is not random scrolling, not algorithmic coincidence, not chance. It is vibrational selection. Something within you stabilized at a frequency that could perceive this signal. Your quantum mind recognized itself here. Before the outer world shifts, there is always an inner calibration. Before reality collapses into form, there is recognition. You feel it as resonance. A subtle expansion. A quiet knowing. Not excitement. Not force. Just familiarity. This is how readiness feels. The quantum field does not respond to effort. It responds to coherence. It does not move because you beg it to. It reorganizes because you have become a match to a different configuration. And the moment you become the match, perception shifts. Pathways appear. Information arrives. Synchronicity increases. Like this. You are not a person trying to influence a stubborn external world. You are consciousness tuning itself. And as you tune, the field reflects the adjustment. This is the law. Observation collapses probability into experience. But observation is not merely looking with your eyes. It is identification. It is the identity you are inhabiting now. The self you are being determines which version of reality can crystallize around you. If you found this, it means you are no longer asking whether reality is flexible. You are ready to understand that it is responsive. You are no longer seeking proof. You are sensing authorship. The collapse does not begin when something changes outside of you. It begins when you recognize that it already has inside of you. Recognition is the shift. You have spent enough time believing the world was happening to you. Enough time assuming circumstances were fixed, timelines were linear, outcomes were determined by effort alone. That identity is dissolving. A new one is stabilizing. The one who knows. Not knows intellectually. Knows vibrationally. Knows that emotion is guidance. Knows that contraction signals misalignment. Knows that expansion signals truth. Knows that forcing creates resistance and allowing creates flow. And most importantly, knows that creation happens now. Not tomorrow. Not when you are more prepared. Not when conditions improve. Now. The present moment is the only place collapse can occur. And you are here. Your quantum mind did not bring you this message to entertain you. It brought you here to confirm you are ready to hold a different state of being. A different coherence. A different identity. This is not about learning something new. It is about remembering something ancient. You are not small within reality. Reality arranges itself within you. Feel the stability in that. If you are aligned with this frequency, subscribe and remain within it. Reality is not something you stand in front of and analyze. It is something that answers you. You have been taught to believe that the world exists first and you respond to it second. That circumstances arise, and then you react. That events happen, and then you feel. But this is inverted. Reality is not imposing itself on you. It is reflecting you. It is responding. The field around you is not static matter. It is dynamic intelligence. It reorganizes according to the signal you consistently emit. And that signal is not your words. It is not your wishes. It is not your forced affirmations. It is your emotional state. Emotion is frequency. Frequency is instruction. This is the mechanism. Every time you stabilize into a feeling, you are broadcasting a structured pattern into the field. Expansion communicates alignment. Contraction communicates misalignment. Calm certainty communicates readiness. Desperation communicates absence. The field does not judge the signal. It matches it. What you call external reality is a delayed echo of what you have been consistently embodying. Not once. Not briefly. But steadily. Identity is not formed by a single thought. It is formed by repeated emotional resonance. And once that resonance becomes stable, the mirror begins to shift. This is why force does not work. You cannot override a signal with surface effort. If your inner state is contradiction, the field reflects contradiction. If your inner state is coherence, the field reflects coherence. You are not observing a finished world. You are participating in an unfolding response. When you understand this, blame dissolves. So does helplessness. Circumstances stop being obstacles and start being feedback. The outer is information about the inner. The mirror is neutral. This changes how you move. Instead of attempting to manipulate conditions, you begin calibrating identity. Instead of fighting what appears, you listen to what it reveals. If something feels expansive, you are aligned. If something feels contracting, you are out of alignment. The emotion is not random. It is guidance. Reality does not need to be controlled. It needs to be understood. And once understood, it becomes cooperative. The delay between inner shift and outer reflection creates the illusion of separation. But the delay does not mean disconnection. It means momentum is unwinding. When a new identity stabilizes, the reflection must adjust. It has no choice. The field answers the question you are being. Right now, your presence here signals that you are no longer satisfied with reacting to life. You are ready to see how it reacts to you. That recognition is already a shift in frequency. Already a refinement of signal. Let that settle. Like the video now as a confirmation that this recognition has landed. You have been conditioned to believe that effort creates results. That pushing harder produces movement. That control guarantees safety. But collapse does not respond to pressure. It responds to identity. The quantum field does not reorganize because you strain. It reorganizes because you become. There is a profound difference between trying to get something and being the version of yourself for whom that something is natural. Trying implies separation. It signals that the desired reality is not here. Being signals completion. It communicates that the reality already belongs to your state of consciousness. The field answers the state, not the struggle. Control is rooted in mistrust. When you attempt to force an outcome, you are declaring that the present configuration is wrong and must be corrected through effort. That declaration carries tension. Tension is contraction. Contraction distorts the signal. Allowing is different. Allowing is not passive. It is stable. It is the calm certainty that what matches you cannot miss you. It is the absence of resistance. An absence of resistance is magnetic. Identity functions as a field around you. Not metaphorically, but vibrationally. Your self-concept emits a pattern. That pattern determines what configurations of reality can lock into place. If your identity is unstable, the field is inconsistent. If your identity is coherent, the field stabilizes around it. You do not collapse reality by chasing it. You collapse reality by embodying the version of you who already exists within it. This is why effort without identity shift feels exhausting. You may take action, but if your self-concept remains rooted in lack, doubt, or unworthiness, the field must reflect that root pattern. Action layered over contradiction produces friction. Being precedes having. When you shift your self-concept, something subtle but irreversible happens. Your emotional baseline adjusts. Your reactions soften. Your expectations recalibrate. You stop asking if it will happen and begin moving as if it is inevitable. That inevitability is not arrogance. It is alignment. Collapse occurs at the moment identity stabilizes beyond contradiction. Not when you deserve it. Not when you work hard enough. Not when you prove yourself. When you become consistent. Consistency in frequency. Consistency in self-recognition. Consistency in knowing. The mind wants strategy. The field responds to coherence. You cannot control the mirror by grabbing at the reflection. You influence it by becoming a different surface. When the surface changes, the reflection must follow. This is the law. You are not here to master effort. You are here to refine identity. Feel the shift in that. Feel the relief. The pressure dissolves because you no longer need to force timelines into submission. You simply align with the one that matches who you are choosing to be. Collapse is not an achievement. It is a selection. Comment with the words, "I am ready," to anchor this timeline. Up until now, you have recognized that reality responds to you and that identity stabilizes the collapse. Now you must understand the operating system beneath that process. The mechanics are not mystical in the way you were taught. They are precise. Emotion is the code. Not thought alone. Not intention alone. Emotion. Every emotional state carries structure. It carries rhythm, intensity, coherence. When you feel something consistently, you are not merely experiencing a reaction. You are transmitting a patterned signal into the field. That signal is read, matched, and reflected. Expansion is alignment. Contraction is misalignment. Expansion feels open, steady, clear. It is not frantic excitement. It is a grounded sense of rightness. When you feel expansion, your signal is coherent. You are in agreement with your deeper knowing. The field can respond cleanly because there is no distortion in the broadcast. Contraction feels tight, resistant, heavy. It is not punishment. It is feedback. It indicates that your current interpretation or focus is out of harmony with your broader consciousness. The signal becomes fragmented. When the signal fragments, the reflection fragments. This is not about suppressing contraction. It is about understanding it. Contraction is guidance pointing you back toward coherence. The field does not interpret your language. It does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you consistently feel. Emotion is instruction. And instruction organizes matter. When an emotional state becomes dominant, it becomes a baseline frequency. That baseline determines what can synchronize with you. Synchronization is the mechanism of manifestation. Two coherent patterns lock together. If your internal frequency is unstable, synchronization cannot hold. This is why fleeting positivity does not produce lasting change. A moment of elevated emotion cannot override a chronic baseline of doubt. Coherence requires continuity. It requires repetition of aligned feeling until it becomes natural. The goal is not intensity. It is stability. You do not need to feel euphoric to reprogram the field. You need to feel consistent. Calm certainty is more powerful than dramatic spikes. Soft alignment outperforms forced enthusiasm. The field matches what is sustained. When you understand this, you stop chasing emotional highs. You begin cultivating emotional clarity. You notice what expands you and what contracts you. You adjust gently. Not by force, but by awareness. Awareness shifts the signal. The moment you become conscious of your emotional state, you regain authorship. You are no longer unconsciously broadcasting old patterns. You are deliberately stabilizing new ones. And as that stabilization deepens, the external arrangement begins to reorganize. Not because you demanded it. Because you programmed it. Emotion is not weakness. It is architecture. It is the blueprint layer beneath visible form. When your emotional frequency becomes coherent, the field receives clear instruction. Clear instruction produces precise reflection. This is the mechanism. There is only one place where reality can change, and it is not where you were taught to look. It is not in the past, because the past is memory. It is not in the future, because the future is projection. Both are mental constructions occurring now. Both derive their power from the present moment. And only the present moment contains creative authority. Creation does not happen across time. It happens within awareness. When you replay the past, you are not revisiting a fixed event. You are reactivating a state of being now. When you anticipate the future, you are not stepping ahead. You are generating expectation now. The field does not respond to where you think you are in time. It responds to the state you are occupying in this instant. This is why waiting delays collapse. Waiting subtly declares that what you desire is not here. It affirms separation. It broadcasts absence as your current position. And because creation occurs only in the present, the field must mirror the state of waiting by continuing the experience of not yet. Waiting is not patience. It is postponement of embodiment. Power is not located in anticipation. It is located in identification. If you identify now as the version of yourself who already exists within the fulfilled reality, the signal changes immediately. There is no gap between alignment and transmission. The only perceived gap is between transmission and visible reflection. But transmission is instant. The present moment is not a fleeting second. It is a portal. It is the only point where identity can shift, where coherence can stabilize, where awareness can redirect. Every collapse you have ever experienced occurred in a now. Every shift in perception happened in a now. Even realizations about the past occurred in a now. There is no other access point. When you attempt to fix the past, you reinforce its structure by emotionally inhabiting it. When you obsess over the future, you affirm that fulfillment is elsewhere. Both positions drain authority from the present and scatter your signal. Gather it back. Right here, without rewriting history and without forecasting outcomes, you can choose a different state of being. Not by pretending. Not by forcing belief. But by recognizing that the only reality available to program is this one. Now is not preparation for later. Now is selection. The collapse of probability into experience does not wait for a calendar. It waits for coherence. And coherence can only be established in the present. When you stabilize your identity here, the timeline adjusts. When you embody certainty here, the field registers it. When you release resistance here, reorganization begins. Not tomorrow. This moment is not small. It is absolute. It contains every potential version of you. The difference between timelines is not time itself. It is state. And state is chosen now. Force feels powerful in the moment. It feels active, decisive, productive. You tighten your focus. You push harder. You attempt to bend circumstances toward your preferred outcome. But beneath force there is tension. And tension is friction within the field. Friction distorts alignment. When you force, you are subtly declaring that what you want is separate from you. You are attempting to close a perceived gap through effort. That perception of separation generates resistance. The more you push, the more the field reflects the struggle embedded in the signal. This is why forcing often produces temporary movement followed by exhaustion. The external shift may occur, but it lacks coherence. It does not stabilize because it was not rooted in alignment. It was rooted in urgency. Allowing is different. Allowing is not passivity. It is not giving up. It is not waiting. It is the absence of internal opposition. It is the decision to stop arguing with what is present while simultaneously holding a stable state that matches what you prefer. There is no friction in allowing. When you allow, your nervous system softens. Your thoughts slow. Your emotional baseline steadies. You are no longer broadcasting desperation or control. You are broadcasting sufficiency. And sufficiency is magnetic. The field organizes most efficiently around calm coherence. Surrender has been misunderstood. It has been framed as weakness. But surrender, in its true form, is alignment. It is the release of contradiction. It is the moment you stop gripping the timeline and trust that your stabilized identity is enough. Trust is not blind belief. It is vibrational steadiness. You do not surrender your desire. You surrender resistance to its unfolding. You do not collapse into inaction. You move when inspired, but the action emerges from clarity rather than compulsion. There is no frantic energy. There is no need to prove. There is simply flow. Flow is what occurs when there is no internal blockage. Resistance is not something the field imposes on you. It is something generated by conflicting signals within you. When part of you believes and another part doubts, friction forms. When you attempt to control every variable, friction intensifies. And friction delays coherence. Allowing dissolves that internal conflict. It says, I trust the responsiveness of reality. I trust that what matches me cannot miss me. I trust that alignment is stronger than force. In that trust, your signal becomes clean. This closes the mechanical understanding of collapse. Reality responds to your state. Emotion encodes the signal. The present moment is the point of transmission. And allowing ensures the signal is undistorted. Power is not loud. It is steady. When you stop forcing, you stop scattering energy. When you allow, you consolidate it. And consolidated energy reorganizes the field without struggle. Not by pushing. By aligning. You now move into a deeper layer of understanding. Once you grasp that reality responds to your state and that allowing creates coherence, a new question emerges. What about the moments that feel misaligned? What about obstacles, delays, and disruptions? This is where refinement begins. Contrast is not punishment. It is precision. When something unwanted appears, the conditioned mind interprets it as failure. But the field is not correcting you. It is clarifying you. Contrast reveals what you prefer by showing you what you do not. It sharpens desire. It defines edges. Without contrast, preference would remain vague and unfocused. You cannot refine what you have not distinguished. Every experience that feels discordant carries information. It is not there to block your path. It is there to illuminate it. The discomfort highlights where your current alignment no longer matches your deeper expansion. The friction exposes where adjustment is available. Contrast is a calibration tool. Imagine attempting to tune an instrument in silence. Without variation, there is nothing to adjust against. Contrast provides that variation. It reveals the difference between resonance and distortion. It shows you where coherence can strengthen. The key is not the presence of contrast. It is your reaction to it. If you meet contrast with resistance, you amplify contraction. If you meet it with awareness, you expand. The same circumstance can either entrench limitation or catalyze growth depending on the state you choose in response. Expansion occurs when you recognize that contrast refines clarity. Contraction occurs when you interpret contrast as threat. This is why two individuals can face similar situations and experience entirely different outcomes. The external event is not the determinant. The internal orientation is. One sees feedback. The other sees defeat. One adjusts frequency. The other reinforces resistance. Contrast is not personal. It is informational. When something unwanted appears, instead of asking why this is happening to you, ask what it is revealing about your preference. What is becoming clearer? What feels more defined? Often, in the presence of contrast, desire intensifies. Vision sharpens. Boundaries strengthen. This sharpening is expansion trying to occur. The field is dynamic. It evolves with you. As your awareness grows, your preferences refine. Contrast assists that refinement. It removes vagueness. It exposes misalignment so that alignment can be consciously chosen. Without contrast, there would be no conscious selection. You are not here to eliminate contrast. You are here to use it. When you stop resisting its appearance, it loses its weight. It becomes neutral data. And from neutral data, precise adjustment becomes possible. This is the deeper precision of reality. What appears as obstacle is often directional guidance. What feels like delay is sometimes recalibration. When you see contrast as refinement rather than punishment, contraction softens. Expansion becomes available again. Contrast does not push you backward. It sharpens you forward. Contraction has been misunderstood for most of your life. The moment you feel tightness, doubt, heaviness, or discomfort, the conditioned response is to assume something is wrong. You interpret the sensation as failure, as regression, as a sign that the path has closed. But contraction is not a stop sign. It is a signal. When contraction arises, it is not declaring that expansion is unavailable. It is revealing that your current focus, interpretation, or identification is slightly out of alignment with your deeper coherence. It is directional feedback. Nothing more. The discomfort is information. If you treat contraction as an enemy, you amplify it. Resistance to contraction creates a second layer of contraction. Now you are not only misaligned in thought or perception, you are also resisting the feedback meant to guide you. This compounds distortion. But if you pause and observe the contraction without judgment, something changes. The sensation softens. Space appears around it. You move from reaction to awareness. Interpretation determines trajectory. The same internal sensation can either spiral into limitation or become a doorway into clarity. When contraction arises, instead of concluding that you are off track, ask what belief is active. What assumption is being held? What story is tightening your field? Contraction always points to a thought or identity that no longer matches your expanded awareness. It does not mean you have failed to align. It means you are being shown precisely where alignment can deepen. It is refinement in motion. The field is highlighting the edge of your current coherence so you can adjust gently. There is no punishment in this system. There is only feedback. When you begin to see contraction as guidance, you stop fearing it. You stop attempting to eliminate all discomfort. You allow it to speak. And in listening, you regain stability. You are no longer thrown off course by temporary internal shifts. You understand that awareness itself restores balance. Reaction locks contraction in place. Interpretation liberates it. If you react impulsively, you reinforce the very state you wish to dissolve. If you interpret consciously, you extract the information and release the tension. The difference is subtle but powerful. One path contracts further. The other expands naturally. You are not meant to live without contrast or sensation. You are meant to navigate them with awareness. Contraction does not close the timeline. It refines your orientation within it. The moment you recognize contraction as feedback rather than failure, your nervous system steadies. The urgency dissolves. You no longer see temporary discomfort as a threat to your becoming. You see it as calibration. And calibration is movement, not blockage. Contraction is not here to stop you. It is here to point you. Resistance is subtle. It does not always look like struggle. Sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like urgency. Sometimes it looks like trying to make something happen before you feel steady within it. But resistance is the only real delay. Reality does not withhold from you. The field does not test your worthiness. The only thing that slows reorganization is contradiction within your own signal. When part of you believes and another part doubts, when one thought affirms and another tightens, friction forms. That friction stalls coherence. The moment resistance softens, movement begins. You have experienced sudden shifts before. Moments where something long desired appeared unexpectedly. Opportunities that seemed to materialize overnight. Conversations that changed everything in an instant. It looked abrupt. It felt surprising. But it was not sudden. Alignment had been building beneath the surface. Subtle adjustments in perception. Gradual stabilization of identity. Quiet releases of old assumptions. The field was already reorganizing. The collapse was already prepared. What you witnessed as sudden was simply the visible phase of a process that had been quietly forming. Stored alignment became visible. When resistance drops, the stored coherence has space to express itself. It is like removing a weight from a compressed spring. The expansion appears immediate, but the energy was already present. It was simply contained by tension. Allowing is acceleration. Not because it forces speed, but because it removes obstruction. You do not need to push reality forward. You need to stop holding it back. Every time you release the need to control the outcome, every time you soften the grip of doubt, you free the field to respond cleanly. This is why desperation delays and calm certainty moves. Desperation reinforces separation. Certainty dissolves it. The field mirrors the state you occupy. If you occupy strain, it reflects strain. If you occupy steadiness, it reflects steadiness. Reorganization does not require dramatic action. It requires internal alignment without resistance. The mind wants proof before it relaxes. It wants guarantees before it releases control. But proof arrives after coherence, not before. When you insist on seeing evidence before you allow, you prolong the tension. When you allow first, evidence reorganizes to match. You are not waiting on reality to change. Reality is waiting on you to stop contradicting yourself. This is not about ignoring circumstances. It is about refusing to let them dictate your state. When your state remains coherent despite appearances, resistance dissolves. And when resistance dissolves, the structure of your experience adjusts. Not because you demanded it. Because you permitted it. The moment you stop resisting is the moment the field can move without distortion. And when it moves without distortion, reorganization feels effortless. It was never about pushing harder. It was about letting go. You have refined alignment. You have softened resistance. Now your perception is ready to widen. What you once believed to be a single unfolding path is not singular at all. It is layered. Infinite timelines exist simultaneously. Reality is not a straight line moving forward. It is a field of probabilities existing at once. Every possible version of your life, every variation of circumstance, every configuration of outcome already exists as potential within the field. Nothing is being created from nothing. It is being selected from possibility. This is not fantasy. It is structure. At any given moment, you are occupying one strand of probability. It feels continuous because your identity has been continuous. Your assumptions, expectations, and self-concept have stabilized around a particular configuration. That stabilization gives the illusion of inevitability. But inevitability is simply repetition of frequency. There is not one future approaching you. There are countless available states of experience accessible through resonance. Each timeline carries its own emotional tone, relational dynamics, environmental conditions, and internal state. They coexist. They do not compete. They do not wait in sequence. They exist. Selection does not occur through effort. It occurs through state. The version of you that holds a different coherence gains access to a different configuration of reality. Not because the world changes around a fixed self, but because the self shifts into a parallel expression. You are not moving through time toward a destiny. You are tuning within a spectrum. Think of reality as a broadcast containing countless channels. The channels are already live. You do not create the broadcast. You tune into it. When your internal state adjusts, your perception aligns with a different signal. The content changes, not because the world rebuilt itself from the ground up, but because you accessed a different layer of it. This is why small internal shifts can precede dramatic external differences. The shift did not alter a single path. It aligned you with another. The mind struggles with this because it seeks linear cause and effect. It wants to believe that action A produces result B in a fixed chain. But within a multidimensional field, what appears as cause is often selection. What appears as progression is often transition. You are not confined to one trajectory. The version of you who feels limited occupies a different probability than the version of you who feels sovereign. The version who expects struggle aligns with a different environment than the version who expects flow. These are not fantasies. They are parallel states available through coherence. There is no need to force movement between them. There is only the need to stabilize the identity that matches the experience you prefer. When you understand this, urgency dissolves. You are not chasing a distant future. You are selecting a present configuration. Infinite timelines surround you now. The question is not whether they exist. The question is which one you are being. A new reality does not require a new world. It requires a new self. You do not shift timelines by attempting to rearrange circumstances. You shift timelines by rearranging identity. The gateway to every parallel version of your life is your self-concept. Not your temporary mood. Not your fleeting desire. Your stabilized understanding of who you are. Self-concept is the lens through which probability filters into experience. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you align with configurations that confirm struggle. If you see yourself as someone who is supported, you align with environments that mirror support. The field does not question the image you hold of yourself. It reflects it. The shift begins internally, often so subtly that the mind overlooks it. A new standard forms. A new boundary solidifies. A new expectation stabilizes. You stop negotiating with limitations you once tolerated. You stop identifying with narratives that once felt permanent. This internal embodiment does not need to be dramatic. In fact, intensity is not required at all. Intensity can be unstable. It spikes and falls. It surges and fades. Stability is different. Stability is quiet. It is consistent. It does not announce itself loudly. It simply remains. Timelines respond to stability. When your self-concept changes in a sustained way, the external world has no choice but to reorganize. Relationships recalibrate. Opportunities emerge. Old patterns dissolve. It can appear as coincidence, but it is alignment expressing itself through structure. The outer rearrangement is not forced. It is inevitable once the inner shift becomes consistent. You may not see the change immediately. There can be a brief echo of your previous identity still playing out. But once the self-concept is anchored, the previous configuration loses coherence. It cannot sustain itself around a frequency that no longer matches it. This is why subtle internal decisions matter more than grand declarations. A quiet realization that you deserve more. A steady refusal to accept what contradicts your deeper knowing. A calm assumption that life responds to you. These are powerful shifts. You do not need to convince the world that you have changed. You need to become consistent within yourself. The more stable your new self-concept becomes, the more stable the new timeline becomes. It is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about recognizing the version of you that already exists within a different configuration of reality and choosing to embody that version now. The field follows identity. When you shift who you believe yourself to be, you shift what is available to you. Not because you earned it. Not because you forced it. But because you aligned with it. Timelines do not move toward you. You move into them by becoming someone new. Imagination has been underestimated. You were taught to see it as fantasy, as escape, as something separate from reality. But the field does not divide experience the way the logical mind does. The field cannot differentiate between imagined and experienced. Your nervous system responds to internal imagery as if it were physically occurring. When you vividly imagine a scenario, your body shifts. Your heart rate adjusts. Your chemistry changes. Muscles subtly activate. The response is real, even if the stimulus is internal. This is not illusion. It is rehearsal. Imagination is vibrational practice. It is the deliberate activation of a state before external evidence confirms it. When you repeatedly imagine yourself within a desired reality and allow the corresponding emotional state to stabilize, you are not pretending. You are conditioning coherence. The body becomes familiar with the frequency. Familiarity reduces resistance. When something feels unfamiliar, the system tightens. Doubt arises. The identity hesitates. But when a state has been internally rehearsed, it feels natural. And what feels natural is easier to sustain. Sustained coherence is what stabilizes a chosen timeline. If you briefly imagine a preferred outcome but emotionally default back to uncertainty, the signal remains inconsistent. The field reflects the dominant state, not the occasional visualization. Imagination becomes powerful when it is paired with steady emotional alignment. This is not about daydreaming. It is about embodiment. When you imagine from the perspective of the self who already exists within the fulfilled reality, you are aligning perception with possibility. You are shifting from hoping for an outcome to inhabiting its frequency. The nervous system adapts to this identity. It stops signaling threat. It begins signaling normalcy. Normalcy is magnetic. The more consistently you allow yourself to feel the stability, confidence, or peace associated with your chosen reality, the more that state becomes your baseline. And baseline determines selection. The field responds to what is stable, not what is fleeting. There is no contradiction between imagination and manifestation. They are phases of the same process. One occurs internally. The other becomes visible externally. But both originate from coherence. You are not tricking reality when you imagine. You are informing it. The key is not intensity of imagery. It is emotional continuity. Soft, repeated alignment is more powerful than dramatic, occasional visualization. The nervous system does not need theatrics. It needs consistency. As your inner rehearsal stabilizes, the external reflection begins to match it. Not because the world was persuaded, but because you became vibrationally equivalent to the experience. The field registers coherence wherever it originates. When you understand this, imagination becomes intentional. It becomes a tool for embodiment rather than escape. You no longer wait for proof before feeling aligned. You practice alignment until proof becomes inevitable. The field does not ask whether it happened in your mind or in matter. It responds to the frequency you sustain. You have explored how reality responds, how identity stabilizes, how resistance dissolves, how timelines align. Now the final layer begins to reveal itself. It is subtler than mechanics. It is deeper than technique. The separation was never real. You are not in the field. You are the field. From the beginning, there appeared to be two, you and reality. An observer and something observed. A person attempting to influence circumstances. A consciousness navigating an external environment. But that duality was conceptual. It was a useful lens for understanding mechanics. It was never the ultimate truth. There is no edge where you end and the field begins. What you call the field is the extension of your own awareness. What you call external reality is perception organizing itself within consciousness. The mirror analogy was helpful, but even a mirror implies distance. In truth, there is no distance. Collapse is not something you do to reality. Collapse is recognition within yourself. When you recognize a truth deeply enough, perception reorganizes instantly. Not because matter rearranged independently, but because your awareness shifted its configuration. The world you experience is structured through interpretation, attention, and identification. Change the identification, and the structure changes. You are not a body inside a universe. You are consciousness experiencing itself as a body within a universe. This changes everything. If you are the field, there is no need to chase alignment. Alignment is simply remembering what you are. There is no need to force collapse. Collapse is the natural consequence of self-recognition. The moment you see clearly, distortion dissolves. The struggle existed only within the illusion of separation. When you believed you were small within a vast, indifferent reality, control felt necessary. Effort felt urgent. Outcomes felt uncertain. But when you recognize that the field itself is an expression of your awareness, urgency fades. Nothing is outside of you. The environment you perceive is not a rigid structure operating independently. It is a dynamic expression arising within consciousness. The boundaries you assumed were fixed are permeable. The limitations you assumed were imposed are interpretive. Recognition is the shift. Not strategy. Not manipulation. Not persuasion. Recognition. When you recognize yourself as the field, there is no longer a question of whether reality will respond. Response is inherent. There is no delay between you and the mirror because there is no mirror. There is only awareness adjusting its own structure. The sense of waiting dissolves. The sense of effort dissolves. The sense of separation dissolves. You are not attempting to collapse probability into experience. You are witnessing awareness selecting its own expression. And in that witnessing, everything reorganizes naturally. You were never a small mind trying to influence a vast universe. You were always the field remembering itself. There comes a point where effort feels unnecessary. Not because you have given up, but because you see clearly. And clarity reorganizes faster than action ever could. Recognition is the catalyst. Strategy operates within the assumption that something needs to be built step by step. It analyzes variables. It calculates outcomes. It attempts to move pieces into position. There is nothing inherently wrong with strategy, but it is slow compared to awareness. Strategy rearranges appearances. Recognition dissolves illusions. When you suddenly understand something at a deep level, your entire orientation shifts in an instant. You do not need to force new behavior. Behavior adjusts automatically. You do not need to convince yourself of worth. Worth feels obvious. You do not need to chase opportunity. You begin noticing what was already available. This is the speed of awareness. Action works from the outside inward. Recognition works from the inside outward. One attempts to produce change. The other reveals that change has already occurred. When you remember who you are, effort recalibrates. You stop acting from fear of loss. You stop pursuing validation. You stop negotiating with limitations that were only sustained by misidentification. The identity shifts, and the actions that follow are effortless. Recognition collapses contradiction. The reason awareness is so powerful is because it resolves internal conflict at the root. When conflict dissolves, resistance disappears. When resistance disappears, reorganization happens naturally. You do not need to force alignment once you see clearly. Alignment is the natural state when distortion is removed. This is why profound realizations feel immediate. A single moment of true clarity can undo years of confusion. Not because the world changed externally in that second, but because your interpretation of it did. Interpretation structures experience. Change the interpretation, and the structure adjusts. Strategy tries to create a new reality while holding on to an old identity. Recognition replaces the identity itself. When identity shifts, reality follows without struggle. There is no lag in being. The only lag appears in visible reflection, and even that shortens as coherence stabilizes. The more fully you remember yourself as capable, sovereign, aligned, the less you rely on force. You do not need to make reality obey you. You need to see clearly enough that obedience is unnecessary. Recognition is not intellectual agreement. It is embodied understanding. It is the quiet certainty that settles into your nervous system when truth lands. In that certainty, doubt loses ground. In that certainty, urgency softens. In that certainty, the next step becomes obvious without strain. You have spent much of your life trying to change conditions. Now you see that the faster path is remembering your nature. Once remembered, action becomes expression rather than effort. Awareness is the highest leverage. Not because it controls reality, but because it reveals that reality was always responding to who you believed yourself to be. The reality you are ready for is not approaching you. It is not forming in the distance. It is not waiting for the right conditions to assemble itself. It already exists. Readiness equals availability. From the beginning, you believed creation meant building something from nothing. You believed you had to construct the future piece by piece, effort by effort, until eventually you arrived. But what you have seen is different. Collapse is not creation. It is access. What you are ready for becomes visible. The field does not withhold possibilities until you earn them. It reflects the state you stabilize. When your identity shifts, when resistance softens, when awareness clarifies, the configuration that matches you becomes accessible. Not because it was made in that moment. Because you aligned with it. Availability has always been here. You were not waiting for the world to change. You were refining the version of yourself who could perceive what was already present. Every adjustment in self-concept, every release of control, every moment of recognition has not been constructing a new path. It has been tuning you into one. This is why forcing feels heavy. You cannot force what is already available. You can only block or allow access to it. When you understand this, urgency dissolves. You stop trying to push the future into existence. You begin embodying the state that matches it. Embodiment is selection. The calm certainty you feel now is not passive. It is alignment without tension. It is the quiet recognition that nothing essential is missing. The timeline you prefer is not fragile. It does not require constant supervision. It requires coherence. And coherence is present. The identity you now hold determines what becomes obvious next. Not through strain, but through clarity. As your awareness stabilizes, the reflection stabilizes. As your certainty deepens, the environment reorganizes to match it. There is no dramatic moment where the universe announces your arrival. There is only seamless transition. You will look back and realize the shift happened when you stopped seeking proof. When you stopped waiting. When you stopped identifying with limitation. The collapse was not loud. It was natural. The version of you who feels ready is the version of you who has access. Nothing else is required. Let this settle into your nervous system. Let the urgency dissolve. Let the quiet authority rise. You are not behind. You are not early. You are aligned with what matches you now. The reality you are ready for is already here because you are already here. Share this with someone who needs to hear it before their timeline closes.